Hello, everyone, and welcome to Science Not Silence Live from Glasgow, live from COP26. Today was supposed to be the end or the last day of COP26, but here we are. The COP is postponed by another day. The closing will officially happen some point tomorrow.
Let's hope so. We don't know, but
Yeah. And we hope to give you some updates of what happened yesterday as well as today at the COP. So, starting from yesterday, um, my mind is already a little foggy. We're both so exhausted after 2 weeks at COP, but let's try to think. What did we do yesterday, Marie-Claire?
So yesterday we have been running around to make sure that the language, so basically the decisions we want to see, are reflecting on our work we have been doing over the last basically years. And this has been quite a tough experience. So we basically went around from door to door, from country to country, to lobby for our points. And now I think we can be very happy with the outcome, because all our language we wanted to see has been formally adopted. And additionally, I don't know if we actually already updated them about the CTC and seat, right?
No, this happened yesterday as well.
Yeah, and today it was confirmed. So within the UNFCCC, there is a mechanism on technology transfer, basically to ensure that there is a low carbon technology transfer around the globe. And this is called the Climate Technology Center and Network. And they have an advisory board where there are different countries represented and also different constituencies. Again, the constituencies are the formal mechanisms of how civil society and how non-party stakeholders are engaged. So they are currently the environmental NGOs, the researchers, as well as the businesses are represented. But we believe that young people, but also women and gender and indigenous people, are very, very crucial when we talk about technology transfer. For young people, basically because we are on the front line of new technology. Many young people work in startups, are entrepreneurs, come up with new technologies, but also indigenous wisdom is so important, because there's so much indigenous wisdom which is very crucial when it comes to technological transfer for a low carbon society. But until now, this women, gender, youth, and indigenous have been excluded from the board, and we could not really bring our voices in so meaningfully. That's why we have been working for 4 years now to bring in or ensure that young people and women, gender, as well as the indigenous constituency are represented in the official board, and with this can give strategic advices, but also be part of the whole mechanism. And basically today they took in the closing, or in one part of the closing, they finally confirmed that we now have a seat. No, it was today.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday it was approved, and today they took the final decision. So there are different levels of decisions. But since today, a few hours ago, it's officially confirmed that these three constituencies have a seat at the table when it comes to technological transfer. This is really, really exciting, especially because we have been putting a lot of efforts over, like as mentioned, 4 years. So this is a tiny success. Also, as mentioned, like some of our youth-related language has been adopted in the final decision. Yet, as mentioned, there are still some outstanding items. So, Heeta, what are the outstanding items?
Currently, I think the biggest issues that are not completed yet is, of course, the biggest one is climate finance, where countries are still negotiating on what that's going to look like, what by the end of the outcome, whether we're reaching the $100 billion goal, but also beyond that. And I think this is one of the biggest issues that we're stuck. The other big issue is Article 6. Article 6 is basically on carbon mechanisms, on market mechanisms, on carbon capture, so on and so forth, on carbon credits, carbon trading. So this is another big issue of global concern that people want to see done right, and countries don't want to give in. There is a lot of issues around transparency, which could be double counting, issues around how the reporting is done, on how countries put things in order. So there's a whole lot of different issues under this, which is basically taken into consideration. So these are currently the two big issues which are still not yet completed as of today, and the COP should have already concluded this evening. But the other updates from yesterday, we had a few other smaller updates. We've had quite a few bilaterals, and for those of you who are new to the UN term of bilaterals, it's basically a meeting between two entities or two groups. So Youngo has been meeting with quite a few countries yesterday and the day before yesterday, but also a few other stakeholders. We've met with the Arab group to discuss the negotiations yesterday. We've also met with something known as the High-Level Climate Action Champions. So the High-Level Climate Action Champions are two people, one from the incoming or the outgoing presidency, sorry. So the Chilean presidency from COP25, and one from the current presidency from COP26, so from UK. And they're basically engaging with civil society outside of the negotiations. So we've had bilaterals with the high-level champions. We've had quite a few different bilaterals. We met with the vice president of the European Commission. We've also actually, we were trying to have a couple of other meetings, but they were cancelled at the last moment because of the really varying schedules. We were also scheduled to meet with the minister from Costa Rica, but she had to be pulled into a negotiation and a plenary, and was stuck, and so we had to postpone that. But basically, all in all, what are the conversations that we're having in these rooms? We've been talking about what youth can be doing meaningfully to also enhance the work at the negotiations. We've also been speaking about how youth should be a part of the process, how they should be engaged. We really work on a bottom-up approach. If you're dealing with young people and with youth constituencies like ours, which is a mandated mechanism, we're not an organization. We're a part of the UNFCCC process, and we're an entirely volunteer-based network, like we've mentioned to you previously, from around the world. And when you work with such structures, we really expect that it's bottom up, it's led by the young people and not for the young people. So we've had various discussions along those lines. We've also been talking about the Global Youth Statement, which we mentioned to you was formulated at COP16, which was the Conference of Youth that ended just before COP26 started. And a lot of different things. So this has mainly been the big points of concern, or the big points of discussions that we've had on how this Global Youth Statement can be championed, because it has clear demands of what we would like to see by the end of COP26, and now we're already one day over. So yeah, it's been quite intense. And I think the week, all in all, has just become so foggy. We're at the end of week 2 now, and it's been 2 weeks of non-stop negotiations, and we started already 4 days before with the Conference of Youth. So it's really been a long time, especially for the two of us. And today's day was mainly a waiting game. We were literally just waiting to see where things are progressing, because now everything is under closed meetings. There's not too much open, except for the very start of the day. We had a very exciting beginning with the plenary. Maricred, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so this is actually someone who has maybe already following back in 2019 in Madrid. The civil society wanted to organize a people's plenary, because we see the heads of states, we see the ministers, we see the negotiators, but very often they do not represent the views of the people. That's why we want to have, instead of a governmental plenary, a people's plenary. Then unfortunately it got very hectic and there were some misunderstandings, so it ended up in a huge chaos and people have been thrown out of the venue. So, but we wanted to organize this year again a people's plenary. That's why we have been organizing in the morning for a little bit more than 1 hour, a plenary, the big plenary hall where everyone comes together. So there are 750 seats, where all the people are coming in, and not the countries, but the people, and they are talking on the behalf of the people, of the right holders. So we had the chance also for 5 minutes to bring forward our concerns and how we would like to be engaged. So the indigenous peoples and the farmers, the researchers, like everyone, also a new group who wants to become a constituency or better engaged, or people with special needs or disabilities. So it was really, really heartwarming to see how the people are coming together and demanding climate justice, demanding decolonization, demanding radical change, and really standing up and proposing also solutions. And when we see, like in the negotiations, kind of how everything is fragmented and how different countries are just not agreeing over like very silly excuses, it was so great to see that the people from all the different parts of the world, with so many different struggles and so many different barriers, and we could be also fragmented as well, but we are coming together because we have one unified goal. So this was really amazing to see. Also, when we entered, the IPCC report was read out to remind us about the science, about how crucial it is, how the science is really giving us all the signals, all the tools needed to take action. Afterwards, all the people came together, and there were also some addressed. And also what I really liked is that this was what we call inclusivity. This is how we are coming together, because we have a self-determined space where we can decide what we want to do, and not someone is just coming and cherry picking and put the people in place where they want to hear them. So this was really great to see. And then there was a big walk out, kind of, because at the end of the day, the COP itself is also a very exclusive space, because you need a badge, you need to have the visa, the accreditation, and so on. So despite this year had the record number of people who have getting badges and accreditation, it was not at all the most inclusive COP, as this is very often portrayed in the media. But this was a very inclusive conversation we had. And then we did a walkout with a red like a red banner or something like this, also reminding us that human rights are really the red line. We really have to respect the right holders in the process, and the right holders are all of us. So we walked out, and then we joined other people who have been doing marches outside of the venue, outside of the plenaries, because they do not have the accreditation, so that we could unify the voices and unify the struggle and the fight for climate justice. This was really great to see, and it was a lot of attraction as well for various parties actually who were busy running around. And I think this is also a really good reminder again about the science, about the people, and so on. So this was really exciting this morning. And then, as mentioned in the afternoon, it was quite a draining waiting, because we didn't know if we suddenly have to do an intervention, if we have to defend our text, if we maybe have to go to certain countries because they want to block something we have been proposing. So this was kind of challenging as well, because you don't really know what to do yet. You have to be always present and checking emails and messages and being here and there. But at the end of the day, I think it was we cannot do anything. Tomorrow morning, I think at 8 they are starting again, and then at 10 the first official plenary is starting. So we get the documents at 8, and then at 10 we start officially. And then hopefully tomorrow evening we can tell you that the COP26 officially closed with all the negotiated items in there. So we basically finalized the Paris Agreement rulebook on how we are achieving the goals laid out in Paris, because at the end of the day, it's great to have goals, and it's better to have a plan how to reach the goals. Because this was, for a very long time, this was an excuse that some things are still not yet clarified. So it's an easy leeway out. And that's why for us it's very crucial that we have a robust, strong, rights-based approach. We have been seeing various attacks for this right-based approach. We already talked about this when human rights language was removed. That's why we are still fighting for keeping the human rights language, the indigenous rights language in there. Youth inclusion, gender responsiveness, these are all very important. That this is very well reflected, not only as buzzwords somewhere, but really well reflected in the text itself. So this is basically what we have been doing the last couple of days. Also, we had like quite some media engagement. We had a press conference today as well, where we have been updating the media what we have been doing on, what has been going on, how the youth members have been engaged. This is again very important to us because at the end of the day we also have to report outside what is going on in the premises. And also, actually, yesterday we had a very funny interaction with a dinosaur. You want to talk about this?
Oh yeah, yesterday was a super fun interaction. We had Frankie, which is basically, all of you might be aware, there's a video come out by the UNDP, which has a dinosaur walking in the UNG, in the UN General Assembly Hall, which is the biggest hall in the United Nations and the most prestigious place to be in. And the dinosaur in that video is something that you must watch. It's in collaboration with EarthX, so you have to really watch it. It's a very special video for all of us and UNDP. But this video basically has a dinosaur walking in, talking about how we should be choosing our survival over subsidizing our own extinction. And we had dinosaur costumes, a person in a dinosaur costume who had walked in through the venue specifying exactly this with a banner which says, "Don't choose extinction." And I think this was extremely interesting. It gathered a lot of interest from people. People wanted to interact. People wanted to ask about what this was, why this person was dressed as a dinosaur, and what the message was. So I think it was a super cool and a fun way to bring about this message, especially during COP26, where it was already getting quite heated up yesterday. A lot of the negotiations were behind closed doors, they were getting close to observers. And I think it was fun to have different ways of messaging that goes across. And we saw this morning was very different from People's Plenary, but yesterday was a different way of showing it through a more fun, more interactive way through a dinosaur costume. So I think all in all, this has mainly been a summary of what we've been doing for the past few days. Um, it has been some small wins, like Mary Claire mentioned. We've gotten a few seats, like in the advisory board of the CTCN, which is the Climate Technology Center and Network. And we've had a few smaller plenaries. So what they've done this time is that they've had closings in parts, which is, I think, a good thing. Yesterday they had part one of the closing for COP, and then today they had part two, and the final closing is part three, which will happen at some point by tomorrow afternoon, hopefully, if all things are going as per schedule now. So because they've done this in parts, they've already closed in certain negotiating items. So those texts will not be reopened at all. And those negotiators have also had the liberty to go back home and not stay and play this waiting game until the end of the COP. So in a way, it's created a lot more flexibility. People already who are following those certain topics and are not following anything else have had the leeway to go back and stay. But the two of us will be here in Glasgow until the gavel hits and until the COP closes. And we will update you as soon as we have more information, hopefully by tomorrow with some positive news on COP26.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And I do not see any question in the chat. If you have any other questions, feel free to just post them, and we're very happy to pick them up tomorrow. Hopefully reporting about the ending of COP26. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.